Hello, Erin Stellato. How you doing today?
I am well. How are you, friend?
Fantastic.
Awesome.
Erin, you've got a past data community summit Precon session coming up.
I
It,
do. I do.
Tell us about it.
It is a query store for an entire day. So for folks who haven't used it or folks that have, this is a really good deep dive, starting at the beginning, right? What is Query Store? How do we configure it? What do we need to be aware of? And then all the way through to understanding the data, how to access it, how to force plans, how to automatically force plans, right? What's new in Azure, and then really understanding how you can take the feature beyond kind of what it was designed to do and leverage it even more. So most folks think, how would you talk about it for an entire day? And I have lots of slides and lots of demos because I think that right seeing things live really helps drive things home for folks. And my hope is that at the end they walk away with tons of useful knowledge that they can put to use in their environment right away.
Awesome. Okay. And for that person that's been with SQL Server and maybe they haven't really they put their head in the ground and haven't been paying attention, give us a little bit about what Query Store is and why the DBA should care.
Yeah, so not just the DBA, like anybody who works with SQL Server, I think they should care. Devs, that includes you as well. But it's a feature that's built into SQL Server, which is what I love, right? It's not anything extra you have to purchase. It's there in standard and enterprise, and it captures query information for you. So the query text, the plan, execution statistics, all of that that's kind of transient in the DMV, it gets retained in your user database so that you can access that to look at history, right? So when someone comes and says, you know what, this store procedure was awful this morning, I don't know what was going on, it's fine now, right? If you think about normally, what do you have to troubleshoot that? Unless you have a third-party tool or unless you're capturing data, you don't really have anything. So Query Store is grabbing all of that for you so you can go back in time and look to see what was going on. That's the short answer. You also have the ability to force plans. So if you've used a plan guide, you know that maybe they can be a little tricky, right? Plan forcing is really easy. You go into Query Store, you look at a query, you understand what plans exist, you figure out which one is the best, and then you force it. And that's going to be the one that it continues to use. So
Excellent. Okay.
yeah,
All right.
it's cool stuff. It's honestly the most favorite feature that they've added to SQL Server that I can think of.
Excellent, excellent. And I guess looking at your LinkedIn profile and looking at your Twitter stream, you've got it's at Erin Stellato on
Mhm.
Twitter.
Mhm.
We notice that you also talk about extended events and
Mhm.
DBCC. What are some other SQL Server topics that you like to present on and talk about?
Statistics and extended events are two of the other favorites of mine. I also, in our immersion events for SQLSkills, I talk about in-memory OLTP, and Jonathan and I teach a course for accidental DBAs. So the folks who maybe didn't grow up wanting to be a DBA, right, or didn't plan on that, or are administrators and also have to manage SQL Server. Though that group of folks is one of my favorites to talk to because there's so many light bulb moments, right, that they have when we're teaching how SQL Server works and what happens, when you change configuration and why backups are important. So I love talking about all of that, and then I also love anything related to performance and tuning and troubleshooting, which is why Query Store, extended event stats are really, topics that I tend to speak on quite frequently.
Okay. And I guess, the work that you do with SQLSkills, I guess that really pairs nicely with the work that you do
Hmm.
with your customers.
Yeah, we have a lot of variety in our consulting engagements, right? Small customers, big customers, every industry, on-prem and in cloud. But we also, are helping them make sure that that environment is set up properly, right? So just kind of a standard audit, right? Is everything configured as you expect? Do you have good backups in place, maintenance, et cetera? And then there's also that, everything's on fire. Please help us fix whatever is wrong with performance. And then, upgrades, migrations, HADR planning, all of that. So a lot of the stuff that I talk about is stuff that I do on a regular basis. That's probably pretty accurate.
Excellent, excellent. And you're part of the community, not just from a global perspective about talking at past summits, but you're also involved in SQL Saturdays. I think I've been to I caught the last part of one of your extended events at one of the SQL Saturdays over the years, and I think I also saw you tweeting about the North Ohio user
Yeah.
group.
Yeah, that's what Northern Ohio, Cleveland area, Ohio North Database Training, ONDT. That's what it is now. So Cleveland, Akron area, we have a user group that was my first actually foray into the SQL Server community. I love our group. There's a lot of folks that keep showing up and come to every meeting, even though we've been virtual. They're there. We did a couple in-person meetings. Socially distanced outside in September and October because we really kind of missed seeing each other and hanging out in person. So it was very safe. We still had pizza and cookies and all of that, but it's a really great group here, and the group does a great job with SQL Saturday, which is normally in February. Not sure what's going to happen in 2022. It was one of the last events actually before COVID hit that a lot of people attended in February of 2020.
Yeah. No, we did a March one in 2020, and it was like,
Oh,
should we be? We're just kind of understanding what's happening here, and we're like,
yeah.
we pulled the trigger, and yeah. But no, your user group event, I really like the covered area outside. That's a great place to meet and
It
to
is.
gather. That was wonderful.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
A few minutes ago, you spoke on Accidental DBA, and I looked through your LinkedIn profile, and what? You're a kinesiology major. What's
Oh,
that?
I know. So it's a really circuitous route. I started out in school. I went to the University of Michigan, and I started out in engineering. And then I was like, this is not right for me, which it kind of in a sense was, but I also had an interest in the medical field. So I switched to kinesiology, which is the study of movement. And I really loved it. But you kind of have to have another degree. You can't just have that undergrad in kinesiology. And so I thought about PT school, and that didn't pan out. And my advisor senior year was like, hey, why don't you stay and get a master's degree? I got these grants. I can pay for it. You can run my lab. And I was like, why not? I'm 22. I don't even know what else I'm going to do. So I stayed and I got my master's, and then she's like, do you want to get a PhD? And I was like, no. And eventually ended up in the tech field. I actually used to work for a software vendor and eventually found databases and really, really enjoyed working with data and SQL Server. And I don't know how many years later it is, 20 years later, here we are.
20 years.
Accidentally.
Yeah, I think when I first met you, I thought, what they've got teenagers here now. What is this? So when you say 20 years, I thought, wait a second here.
Yeah.
And then you've also have Pluralsight, where you talk about extended events and query store and DBCC and query performance for the dev. And automatic tuning in 2017 in Azure SQL DB. So if people are looking, they can go to your Pluralsight page and see what you've got to offer as well. And we also spoke in the past about this. You've got ISV applications, or is also 2 retired sessions, and I'm sort of thinking, wait, those are still important. I have customers all the time with third-party applications, and they use SQL. That's we got to pull that out of retirement.
I know, and like those courses were heavily based on my experience working for a software company before I came to SQLSkills, and it's really interesting now to be on both sides of that, right? Because I understand the challenges that software companies face, and I understand obviously the challenges that customers face, and I feel like that's a real strength that I have, because when I'm engaging with a customer and they've got problems, I have no issue going to the vendor and saying, listen, like, this is something that's really important for you to understand, and you're not serving your customers. It doesn't always, they don't always listen, right? But I try.
Yeah.
I try.
And I guess too, I mean, there's another situation where Query Store can help, I would imagine.
Oh, for sure, because it's transparent to any application, right?
Yeah.
So they have no idea.
Great. And so you're doing the pre-con session. Are
Mhm.
you doing any other sessions for the past Data Summit?
I am. I have a session on stats, one of my other favorites. So there's a pathway that Alan White put together related to query performance, query tuning, and it's got like there's some. Kimberly has a session in there. Alan has a session. Itzik has a session. Grant has a session. Hugo, if I missed one of you, I'm so sorry, but there it's a great like kind of path that you can follow to really ramp up and cover all of the critical things related to query performance. So I'm really excited to talk about stats for that.
Excellent. Well, I look forward to seeing that as well. And thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. And just, is it Monday or Tuesday that your pre-con is on?
It's on Tuesday, and then my stat session, I think, is on Thursday. But
Okay.
thanks for having me and for putting this together. It's
Hey.
really great of you. I appreciate it.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate your time. It's good to connect with people in the community that, hey, it's been so long since I've seen
I
your
know.
face. It's
I
good to
know.
see you again. And yeah, look forward to seeing you perhaps in a SQL Saturday in the future.
We can hope. We can hope, Scott.
Okay. Take care. Thanks so
Thanks.
much.
Take care.